the summer. You know, I mean, it's not that hot, and that's what I mean. Right now, if I get that on my skin, there's no way it's going to burn my skin, and I know it's there, and I flick it off. So in that sense, I do think it's safer in terms of lime burns than using a cold material. But you know, so have we got a pointing iron or anything like that here? A slick.
So if you got too much water, how can you add more sand? Or
If you put a bit too much in at this stage, the evaporation will bring it down quite quickly. Just the evaporation of just to wait a little while. But you won't put too much water in once you've done it a few times. I was a bit hesitant about this one because it's not the way I normally mix, and when I'm chattering, I sometimes put a bit too much in, and then. But just to illustrate, you know, there are several things I want to point out to you here. I mean, that's one, that if I'm pointing, I can pick that up and I can put it exactly where I want it. I'm not fighting to try and get this non-workable material into the joint before it falls on the floor, and I can pick it up. So that's one. The other thing I draw your attention to, there's several things, but look at, I'm really pressing that, and that is holding up really well. Obviously a heavy stone would take it where you want it, but that's a real benefit. It doesn't squeeze in the way that the other mortars do. It holds up very strongly. It's got good compressive strength at this moment, you know, in that sense. The other thing I'd say, where's the water? I mean, if this was a hydraulic lime or a putty lime, this would be running with water. There would be visible water. There's none here. So again, when you build with it and it squeezes a bit, you don't get lime running down the wall. These are all little things, but they're significant things because they're really speaking of the strength of the bond, and that's critical. It's not just the strength of the bond between the aggregate and the lime, it's the strength of those two and the water. There's a strong bond between the water, the lime and the sand all in one go, and that is unique to this method of preparing a mortar, and these are all major benefits. I could spray that with a hose just now. I wouldn't get any lime running out at all. You can do it straight away once it's mixed. And I hope that most masons in the audience think that's a useful material. You can imagine we butter a perp joint, and let's see if it'll stick on a metal bucket, and it stays there. It doesn't just slide down and then it's a nuisance. You glide your stone in if you're bedding it, and it impacts and compresses, and there you go, it's done. So these are all little incidental benefits, but they're what we want, aren't they? That's as masons. Talking to a fellow mason over here. Some bricklayers find this a bit too sticky, but as I say, you can, if you use finer sand, it's less sticky. If you dry slake and leave it, then it's got quite the same tackiness, but otherwise the character of it is very similar. It's just, so that's a preference among different trades, you know. But and if we were plastering with it, or indeed bedding, we can make it wetter than that. So still very sticky, still very cohesive and adhesive, and obviously like that. This is better than some of the ones in England, actually. The amount I can get on without it falling off. But, and again, you know, I've just added more water. You can just about see the water now, but that will disappear too if I knock it in. So it takes it in and holds it in very, very readily. So yeah, I mean, that's not far off a good bedding mortar, depending on the porosity of the stone and so on. But and I'd still take it wetter than that for a plaster mortar, but of course we'd have hair in there. But again, I would tend to put the hair in at the hot stage and mix that in. Or hemp shiv, which is very common in the UK. We use that a lot as an insulator, and it reduces shrinkage, of course. It's a double benefit. So they'd all go in at the hot stage, and the hair doesn't catch fire. You know, I've seen reports written where they say it looks like a hot mix, but it's got hair in it, so it can't, because that would have caught fire. This is the sort of nonsense that is out there. And then people talk about blowing up buildings with quickly storing the building. It blows the roof off, and I'd love to see the newspaper story of that actually happening, but it will sink a boat. because obviously it gets a bit of water and it burns, gets very, very hot, and potentially it will sink a boat in the long run. But oh, sorry. It's all right. I like to do that because people usually got nice smart clothes on, and I pretend it's an accident, and it was, but it wasn't. Subconsciously,
Usually it's not.
Subconsciously, it wasn't an accident. So anyway, yeah, I mean that's a gorgeous mortar to me, and to build with that is just a pleasure. Is all I could say, and it will stick, as I said, to anything. I'm not going to. No, I can throw it up there and it will stick very nicely. So that's the ordinary method, typically. And obviously, if you want to match a mortar that's got lime lumps in it, there they are. They're there, and some of those will yet slake. This is a potential issue. But of course, in a bedding mortar, so what? And actually in a base coat plaster or a second coat plaster, actually so what? In most cases, it's the finish coat you don't want to have late slaking in. If you've seen that, you get little bullet holes, what look like somebody's just shot an air rifle at the wall, and at the back of it there's a tiny little white dot, which is the lump of lime that's slaked and levered it off. I've seen that. I was recently in a church up near Boynton, and it was a cement lime mortar, but it was just full of these bullet holes, so they made the cement lime mortar with quicklime, which was still common in our area. So wherever it was available, they would tend to do it with quicklime, which is another thing I'd like to see tested. I'd like to know what the difference is in the character of the mortar if you use quicklime to make a cement lime mortar or you use hydrate. So so there's endless things that we need to test. But actually, again, I would go back and say, but at the moment, we just know it works and it's really nice to use. So that's one method. Should we put that aside somewhere? And